Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Nisi Denise, back to do another reading. I'm going to try to see if we can get through this pretty quick, and because I have a couple things I want to show you. First of all, before we get started, I have some new books in. This is the one I was waiting for, by Guy Anderson. It's Rise of the Clones, the Cabbage Patch Babies. Boy, do we got a lot to deep dive into that one. All right. I have been reading over the first edition, Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. All right. I believe he's working on the third book as well, per some of his podcasts that I was listening to over the weekend. Also today, I got in the book Over the Vril by Donald Marshall. This was done in 2024. Okay. This book is part 1 and part 2. Okay. So I can't wait to deep dive into that and cross-reference it with Pierre Sabac's work because I want to see the variations there. Okay. This is strictly talking about the Vril, which is a group of reptilians or entities, right? So we're going to get into that as well. So I'm excited that I got these books in. I have been slowing down on ordering things. As you know, I ordered a few more things a couple of days ago. Did I show you all that? Yeah, I think I did. Wait, hold on. I have so much stuff over here on the floor. My apologies. I think I showed you guys. I think I did show you guys this, but I'm going to show you again. I am not your Negro. Underground bases and tunnels, right? Underwater and underground bases and tunnels. White Fragility. And this one, The True World History Human Saga. And this one was by Stuart Swerdlow. So this is a channeled thing as well as the Vril. So we've got a lot of good reading that I'm going to be doing, and I will share with you guys. I'm not going to read all these on camera with you, but as I get into them, and if I find something that's pretty interesting, I will come on and probably give you my little breakdown of it, my 2 cents of how I interpreted things. But let's get into the final part of Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. Before the last time that I did the video with you guys, we looked at chapter 16, which was the reset, and I got halfway through it, right? And I had to duck out because I had an appointment. So just to take you back to that point where he talked about the pyramid structure, okay? We've got the World Monarch, the Crown Council of 13, the Committee of 300, and the Club Rome, the think tanks, central banks, tax revenue, and interest revenue, corporations, religions, and governments, and then population and workers, which Chuck Swindoll calls the feeders and the breeders. Okay. That's the hierarchy here in this realm or the simulation. All right. So, I'm just going to get into it and just read. All right. Since the pandemic of 2020 and the hike in the cost of living, we have seen an unprecedented increase in people not only taking antidepressants, but sadly taking their own lives too. Lockdown clearly separated us from our loved ones and introduced remote working into the mainstream. We were encouraged to spy and report on our neighbors if we saw them breaking the rules, and were also placed under house arrest for several months. Then shortly afterwards, we discovered that many of the people making these rules didn't follow themselves. It is difficult to pinpoint when the reset we're going through actually started. Was it an outbreak of COVID, as some theorists suggest, the invasion of Iraq following 9/11, or a result of the British voting to leave the EU? I'm going to say, he doesn't put this in here, but I'm interjecting on this part. I'm going to say the last reset occurred in 1728 per Nos Scaphandrum. But you can really see the devastation and destruction that ensued in the reconstruction of America in 1776. And then you've got the Great Comet, the floods, the fires, the catastrophes that were going on worldwide and the war. So I'm going to say some people may disagree, but I'm going to say we're already in a new world order. And I'm thinking this is just a continuation from the last reset. Like, I don't know if this is something that's going to be gradually done, or is it they're going to flip the switch and they're going to flood everything again. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know they're leading up to something big, but I really kind of think we're on this path of this is it. I mean, we're already in a reset. I agree with Guy, but I think it started 300 years ago and it's just been slowly moving to this point. I don't think we ever actually completed the full reset. I think it's just in stages or phases. That's what I'm saying. So he says the latter, I doubt, is leaving was driven by many players within the cabal itself. Besides, we will never truly know if the votes were actually counted or if the decision to leave was already made. Therefore, the British public being asked to vote was probably just them probably just them thinking that it mattered, right? At the same time, I personally doubt that when elections are held, those votes are counted legitimately either. Instead, the outcome is part of the plan that the parasites wish to play out. You only have to look at the power that was given to the WHO during the pandemic to see that either most, if not all, governments are controlled by other people and organizations. And they are, if you look at the structure. The WHO receives funding from member states. However, Bill and Melinda Gates has donated $750 million through their foundation, which gives them incredible control and influence. Whether the Gates family belongs in some way to the 13 bloodline families remains uncertain, but they do appear to have a seat at the table. I recall Bill Gates on television during the pandemic acting as almost an official advisor on behalf of the scientific world, were asked to follow the science, but before there was always asked to question it. The WEF also appears to have a huge control and influence, funded by 1,000 member companies. It is chaired by the founder Klaus Schwab, who is stepping down as I write this to possibly be replaced by Satya Nadella, chairman and chief executive officer at Microsoft. Are the dots joining yet? So yes, and BlackRock is one of the other ones, Monsanto, all these corporations play a key part in everything that we see right now. And it is for the demise or destruction of our well-being and of this earth dome. Okay. It's always been about control, you guys. It's always been about control. Absolute power corrupts. And I say we need to take back our divine given right and go within and cut loose everything. Do you guys realize if we all would just come together, us, the common people, there's more of us than there are of them, they would have no choice. I mean, we could flip the script and make a change. I'm serious. But we have to get more people to wake up to the fact that this is wrong, that these things that they're doing, it's not right. It's not right for us, and it's not right for the future generations, because it looks like to me they're going to a digital currency, digital ID. Real ID is part of the digital ID. So they're setting things up behind the scenes, and COVID was really like to flip the switch. And I mean, all these other events, if you want to look at the EU, you want to look at 9/11, you want to look at all the world wars, it's a continuation. This has always been their plan to carry it out. And it really doesn't matter if it's a new reset or a continuation of the old. Regardless, it's wrong. We agree on that, right? So then it says, the WHO also appears to have control and influence. Now, he was saying that this person, Satya Nadella, chairman and chief executive officer of Microsoft, their agenda covers many areas, but specifically the climate and clean energy and new vaccines and AI. I'm going to highlight that. All right. So it says new vaccines and AI. Yep. And climate and clean energy. So they're pushing the use of these EV vehicles. They're pushing the happy sauce injections. They're pushing AI, Chat GPT. They are pushing the spraying of the skies of, putting barium, strontium, aluminum, graphene. It's like 5 things they put in there that they put in the atmosphere. And that blocks the signal. Okay. Not only does it create the cloud cover and manipulates the crops, and it harms the environment. It's in our water. It's in our food supply. The animals eat the earth, the soil, the plants that we need to grow, the fruits and vegetables. Everything is being targeted, right? And I mean, some people see it and some people go, oh, it's a conspiracy. No, it's not, because it's in black and white and you can read it for yourself. If you've got a freaking iPhone or a cell phone, Android, whatever, or a tablet, you can go look this stuff up yourself. It's no conspiracy theory. We're just putting it together and connecting the dots, and he does it nicely here. So many other people are talking about the same thing, So it says, they also hold us having a digitized central currency system very close to their hearts. With regard to AI, they believe this is to be the 4th industrial revolution, and own website actually states that we are the Great Reset and has several videos about it too. They use the last pandemic as a reason a reset is needed, powerfully suggesting that we are very vulnerable and that it will happen again. Okay, so see, they're pushing this agenda of fear, reaction, problem, solution. Shout out to David Icke and his sons and his team over at Iconic Team. I think they're working with Guy Anderson to do a audio or documentary. Let me say that, a documentary to his work. My thing is, you really got to see it for what it is, right? A lot of people are seeing it, and we're trying to go to call to arms to have everybody else to wake up. But it's up to you to come to an understanding. Now, I can hear some people going, well, why does it matter? If we're going to die, let me go out, let me do what I want to do. That's just selfish. And you have to take accountability for your own actions, right? So at the end of the day, if you want to sit there and cover your head in the sand, go right ahead. The destruction's still coming irregardless. All right. You're going to have to answer. Either answer now or you answer later. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you, and it's not going to be what you think it is. So they're pushing in this digital currency, climate and clean energy, the happy sauce injections, the vaccines, and the AI. All right. And it says, like he said, it's on their website, and the AI is pushing the AI in. So it's going to be a new industrial revolution, a fourth industrial revolution with the AI, right? And it says they've got several videos, and it's on their websites. They use this last pandemic as a reason to reset is needed, powerfully suggesting that we were very vulnerable and that it will happen again. Therefore, by us following their advice, we can avoid outbreaks in the future, apparently. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. They created all this stuff in a lab, and you can trace it back to here in the U.S. when it was under Obama. Okay. And even before then, like every year, these people met. All these scientists from around the world met at specific locations and discussed what they were going to study as far as deadly diseases and inoculations. Okay. We already know that. And if you do your research, you'll see it. Okay. So then it says we can avoid outbreaks in the future. Apparently, my suspicion is that the next outbreak is just around the corner. It could be. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past them. They recently pushed bird flu, and as I write this, Mpox, better known as monkeypox, is on the rise. WEF investors include the World Bank's news and media providers like Bloomberg, healthcare providers, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and BlackRock. Here are just a few more of them: Amazon, Apple, IBM, Johnson & Johnson, LinkedIn, Google, Microsoft, Nestle, TikTok, Walmart, aka ASDA. We will come into contact with most of these companies on a daily basis. In fact, life will be a lot harder today without them. Social media platforms having partnered with them is a cause for concern on its own. The personal data that these companies and organizations such as Ancestry.com suggest that these individuals behind the current reset know absolutely everything about us, and they do. This is a far cry from the reset of 1776, where war and the catastrophe, natural or not, depopulated the planet. I now believe that this reset will depopulate using vaccines, cancer, 5G. This time they won't need to repopulate using cloning exercises like the Cabbage Patch and the incubator babies, as they will have AI to perform many of the tasks we are now employed to do. So if you're out of work, how are you going to survive? Like if they go to a state where everybody who's drawing disability, Social Security, retirement, they go to digital currency. And then for those of us who saved or didn't save, right, and you still need an income, then they're going to give you credits every month. But in the guise of, if they give you something, then you have to give up something in return, which is your freedom of choice. Because now that they got you with the digitalized money, you can't just go out here and make money under the table. You can't work. You know what I'm saying? You have to report everything to the government. They want to know where you're going. You're driving your new Tesla. You're shopping at Walmart. You're scanning your debit card, or you scan your phone, and then there they go. They know what you spend every month, how much money you have, and if they want to cut you off and cut your car off and keep you in a 15-minute city where you can't go nowhere, then you under their thumb. You see what I'm getting at? Do you really see it? So it says, if the resets happen every 250 years, then this is clearly following a predetermined pattern that I believe has been in place since the very beginning of time. The major players involved may not be able or part of the bloodline families, but I believe that their involvement alone gives them an insight into what is coming and therefore a head start over to the rest of us. Coincidentally, there was a movie released early this year starring Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke that showed us exactly what would happen when the current civilization collapses. A character played by Mahershala Ali informs Julia Roberts that his position in society as a billionaire gives him a head start over the rest of us, but no other form of support or safe haven. Perhaps this is why so many famous and wealthy people throughout the world are currently building underground bunkers, including Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg. An interesting side note about this particular film is that it was executive producers were Barack and Michelle Obama. So see, they have to put it out there in front of us in order for us to get us to buy into it, right? So they think that they can avert the karma, the universal law, by telling us in movies, because we're subconsciously going along with it by listening to it and putting it in our minds. See, they're planting that seed. Okay. And many people think, oh, it's just on TV and movies, but it willfully, they're using your ignorance they're using the ignorance of us against us. Does that make sense? Some of us are ignorant to the fact. The majority of people are, right? But I'm not. I know what they're doing, right? And so it's a few of us do know what they're doing, right? So it says, none of this is based upon speculation. It has been hidden in plain sight for some time now, and plans for 15-minute cities are already underway. The installation of 5G masts across the planet started during the first lockdown, and the danger that these particular devices can cause is well documented. When they told us to stay in, my ass didn't stay in. I was out riding around, and I saw them working on these damn phone. I saw them working on these poles, and I'm like, what are they putting up? Are they changing the cameras out? I didn't understand that they were putting up these 5G towers. Like, I knew they were doing something because I saw these crews out, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly what they were doing because I didn't want to go over there and ask them, right? Because we're not supposed to be, around people. We're supposed to be sheltered or in place, right? But my ass got tired of sitting in the house, so I had to get out and just drive around and see what was going on. My husband was still going to work because he was an essential employee, and so was one of our sons. Actually, two of our sons were still essential employees, so they had to get out. So it says, this isn't based on speculation, all right? So then we know that these towers cause a lot of health concerns. If you live right under a tower, you need to fucking move, or you need to research how you can shelter your house or barrier your house against the 5G radiation. That's all I'm going to say, okay? So then it says the WEF and the other groups detailed within the chapter are currently working on two quite well-publicized agendas that the 15-minute cities and 5G play a huge part of. These are called Agenda 21 and Agenda 30. And I have the Agenda 30 outline. I had Agenda 21 on my old laptop over here that I downloaded, but I have Agenda 2030. I printed that bad boy off. It says these agendas focus upon a mass food shortage event, and China has already experienced this with huge flooding, resulting in a loss of first season of rice crops. America and Britain has suffered the same fate too, due to the constant rainfall with this much of the world's crops coming from Ukraine. The conflict caused further impact. Soon we may well see us run out of food. That's why you need to get to you're eating one meal a day. And if you can fast for a period of days or weeks without food, you need to learn how to do that. I'm just simply saying that's what I'm doing right now. I am training myself to not eat every single day. And if I do eat, it's once or twice a day. And then I'll go for a period of days where I don't eat at all. So then it says the narrative is blame man-made global warming, but just a quick look at the sky will show you that chemtrails are actually responsible. The constant seeding of the clouds with the metals like aluminum and graphene it's not just causing it to rain and ultimately flood, but it's blocking out the sunlight too. And it is. Approximately 48% of our calories comes from grain, and sooner or later it will be the scarce supply. We will then see a push towards synthetic meat and eating insects like crickets, for example, harvested in laboratories. These foods will be specifically produced to slowly poison us and reduce fertility, and the weather modifications will prevent us from being able to grow our own produce instead. Compounding this further, the cost of land has skyrocketed, and countries, including America, have seen land grabs by likes of Bill Gates, preventing the public from the opportunity to become self-sufficient and own small holdings. This is illegal. And we, the autochthonous, the melanated people of Americas, the American Indian, need to come together and take these mofos to the world court, because what they did over here is completely out of line and it goes against our Constitution. And if you guys would study the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, you would know that shit. This is why we need to move in numbers. Chief Red Wolf is completely right. These agendas also aim to see the end of home ownership, with us becoming tenants in rented properties. The WEF states upon their website, we won't own anything, but we will be happy. In addition, forced vaccines, digital ID, and a huge rise in crime are key strategies too. In Britain, we have seen a big push for the installation of smart meters to monitor our energy consumption so they can cut your shit off. I got a smart meter out here, and I really hate that shit. I really do. But I'm in a new home, supposedly one of these automated homes, and probably should have stayed where I was. That wasn't a smart home, but I didn't. But I'm just simply telling you, so they can cut your electricity off if they need to. They can monitor your energy consumption. However, the underlying reason for the push is to give the energy providers complete control. Should we post or comment on social media that goes against the narrative, they can switch off our electricity or our gas supply. Yeah, they can starve us out. The ownership of livestock and even pets will become a thing of the past. And as our carbon footprint will become even more of a burden to carry, despite it is not being true, you can kiss goodbye your passport and possibly your car too. Yeah, they're trying to push that shit, but they're going to have a fight on their hands over here in the Americas, because we ain't going to go out like that. I'm just going to tell you, we not. Returning to the COVID pandemic again, did you notice that long before a vaccine was created, the governments rushed to install a network of 5G masts? They got 10G coming out now. Almost as soon as we were locked inside our homes, they stated that this was so we could remote work with the ability to get a faster and more efficient internet signal no matter where we lived. However, 4 years later, I'm still yet to meet anyone that frequently gets a 5G signal on their mobile phone, and most people never give this a second thought. So what is 5G actually for? Various concerns have been raised to numerous local authorities throughout England, including the safety certificates issued regarding possible harm caused by the frequency they operate on, as well as them having links to cancer, respiratory problems, and emitting harmful radiation. A lot of these other countries over in Europe have been burning these cell phone towers. We ain't doing shit over here in America. Meanwhile, everybody's worried about what Cardi B looks like, because she done took the old Ozempic shot and she lost weight. I'm just simply saying, still talking about the P. Diddy trials and now that Charlie Kirk guy. I'm just telling you, they all over the place over here. We ain't even getting the real news, and most people are not even the wiser of the shit. So then it says, the installations appear to be conducted by companies that are dissolved and no longer active, thus making these certificates fraudulent. Even engineers installing the masts have told members of the public that they have approached them airing concerns that when the revolution comes, there will be out there disconnecting them and are fully aware of the dangers they cause. Richard Vobes, the highly respected podcast, has campaigned vigorously to see the end of the installation of the 5Gs in Worthington, England. Meanwhile, over here in the United States, we ain't doing shit. In fact, along with a group of local residents, successfully prevented one being placed right outside of school for now. Not one local authority has found any issue with the fraudulent certificates being provided. Moreover, not one of them has accepted that there are or could be health risks connected to the EMF, the electromagnetic fields, that they admit. This is despite reports on microwave syndrome becoming widespread since inception. There are now 39,000 publications on EMF, and 587 of them are specific to 5G. Y'all need to go look that stuff up over here in the Americas, whoever sees this video. There is also a direct link to the radiation from the mask having a much more damaging effect to anyone that has metal within their body. Which hence that's why they're spraying the skies with the metal, so they can light us up and torch us like putting food in the microwave. It's the same thing they're doing with us, especially when they crank up the DARPA towers. Yeah, they're all doing this in unison, but nobody's paying attention. Very few of us are. So then it says, there's also a direct link to radiation from the mask doing a most damaging effect to anyone that has metals in their bodies. This includes hip replacements, plates and pins. I got one on my foot. Dental work, pacemakers, and piercings. The research concluded by the British government and the WHO actually states that ICNIRP, International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection Guidelines, do not cover anyone that falls into these categories. Okay, so I have ear piercings and I have a thing in my foot. So there you go. I'm in that group. So, moreover, the word safe is not used once within any of their research. Instead, they actually state unlikely to cause harm. More worryingly, videos posted on social media sites like YouTube are instantly removed, podcasts are banned, and the channels demonetized. So, yeah, they've done me like that over on TikTok. They started doing that crap. And I don't get very many views over there. So I don't really even care, though, at this point. Quite recently in England, 30 calves born in a field with newly installed 5G masts were born blind. This is due to 5G having more impact relevant to the amount of water within the body. Cows hold much more water than humans, and adults at least, but children, on the other hand, carry more and are therefore a greater risk. That's why they're putting them outside the schools. Sterilization and slowly killing us off. I would urge further investigation into the damage 5G can cause, with particular attention to the oxidative stress, which leads to DNA damage. Besides the general effect on genome instability, affected organs include the brain and reproductive tract, leading to impaired cognitive functions and decreasing fertility. We've also seen a huge rise in stabbings and violent crimes, which makes me wonder if the parasites are aiming for us to ultimately destroy each other without the need to intervene. And you can tell that when they when the EMF frequencies are turned up or whatever they're doing, you see a lot more stabbings, a lot more murders, a lot more shootings, and it's more like an MK Ultra type thing. You know, my thing is when you look at these shows like Wayward on Netflix, they talk about this institution where these kids would go to get reprogrammed. That's been going on for a millennia now, where they snatch up kids when they're little bitty kids, taking them from their parents and putting them in these foster homes and in these programs, and they're grooming these people up to be sleeper cells. And I know how that sounds, but I'm just telling you, it's right there in front of us, but nobody's paying attention to this crap. So this last part. So it says, we've all seen a rise on stabbings and violent crimes, which makes me wonder if the parasites are aiming for us to ultimately destroy each other without the need for intervention. The Romans favored divide and conquer as a way to depopulate and to prove very successful. Added to this, children now seem more vulnerable than ever, with the horrific child abuse scandals constantly making headline news, and those involved are very high profile. Now, you have a lot of pedophiles that work in the school, because now here in Houston, where I live, you're always seeing some teacher getting arrested for inappropriate behavior with a child, or you're also seeing an adult who's been trying to pick up children through the internet, or, driving home and following kids home from school and trying to pick them up. I'm just telling you, it's a lot of stuff that's coming out. There's so much stuff going on. You can't really keep track of it, And it says, where will this all end? If we don't wake up to what is going on and protect those most vulnerable and precious, then where are we going to be? The only way we can prevent this reset from its conclusion is that we can change how we think, how we act, and how we participate within the system itself. Perhaps it's time for us to rise to a higher vibration. And this is why Chief Red Wolf has been reading more on what we can do internally. And that's why I'm still going to focus on doing the science of sacred secretion, reading some things over the lost teachings of Atlantis, the children of Law of One. I'm going to be sharing some information with you guys. And I mean, if you want to pick up the books, I would highly recommend you to do that and start reading ahead. And so that we can have these intelligent conversations and discussions, right? So then this last part, it says, other than so it says the parasites live in a very low vibrational world. They don't feel love, and they cannot create art of any form. They feed off our negativity, which is usually caused by their actions, specifically to make us feel this way. Often the mention of frequencies or vibrations can be met with cynicism and ridicule, yet we all experience its power on a regular basis. Most of us at one point or another have entered the room that we felt had an atmosphere that you could cut with a knife. This is a low frequency or vibration, and it has immediately been picked up by your sixth sense, or your own vibration, so to speak. In fact, in the end, everything is just energy. This energy has a frequency or vibration. The lower it is, the darker and more bleak life seems. The higher it is, the better life seems. It's actually that simple, and Nikola Tesla understood this better than most. All of this has research. All of his research was based upon the very energy that we have all around us, the ether. And that's why they removed it out of the books as the element. Okay. I'm not saying that it's easy to consistently be positive and live in a higher vibration, but a healthier diet, good night's sleep, regular exercise, and power that letting go of hate, regrets, and certain people will have a huge impact. I have no doubt that it will become harder and harder to avoid the toxins that are forced upon us, whether it's prescription pharmaceuticals or quite simply tap water, but we can reduce these effects simply by adding the right minerals and vitamins into our diet will have a significant effect. You could consider installing a water filter and using an umbrella when it rains too. It is worthwhile thinking about where we can go to buy groceries too, as well as Walmart are almost certainly involved in all the downfall. And I would be surprised if other supermarket chains and other restaurant chains aren't playing ball with the parasites too. During the pandemic, rumors were rife about McDonald's putting vaccine into their food, okay, as well as serving Soylent Green. I'm going to get into cannibalism and we're going to talk about some things and I'm going to share some information with you guys, okay? I'm just going to show you what I found and I just want you to do your research as well. I believe that for the most part, the world would be a much better place without the internet, with particular emphasis on social media and how it has disconnected people and unnecessarily distraction. However, one positive is that the reset has already proven to be a much harder task for the parasites due to the internet providing us with access to information regarding their plans quickly. And this is why I say you purchase the books, you have the information readily available, because at some point you are going to be monitored by what you put on social media and they're going to be they watch us anyway. So it's going to just only going to get worse with control, right? So then it says, this is often well before they have had a chance to remove it. There are good people out there trying to warn us and are currently being attacked and often shut down in the process. Cast your mind back to David Icke and what he was subjected to when he woke up in the 1990s. How did they personally benefit from what he said? In the end, all he wanted to do was help us, and most people just laughed in his face and they thought he was crazy. Fortunately, they're not laughing these days, and his following is well into the millions. Imagine if tomorrow we all decided to boycott Amazon or refuse to go to work. The power we have, we can unite is more than enough to not only stop the reset, but change the world for the better in just one day. The parasites know this, and it keeps them awake at night. It's time for us to come together and stop what has happened in 1776. Okay, and from happening again. His story has a nasty habit of repeating itself. So unless we want to risk becoming a lost empire, just like the Tartaria, we need to act quickly. And with that, I'm done. I'm over at 30 minutes. So I appreciate you guys for joining me. We finished this book. Shout out to Guy Anderson, Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. When I come back, we're going to start the reading of The Rise of the Clones, the Cabbage Patch Babies. And we're also going to start the first chapter of the Lost Teachings of Atlantis. And then I'm going to piggyback onto picking up the Reptilian read from Murder of Reality, Hidden Symbolism of the Dragon, and Flying Serpents and Dragons, because we need to get through that book as well, those two books as well. Anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing night. Thank you for joining me. And remember what I always say, be the change you want to see all around this Earth Dome, because it's up to you and I to make a positive change. I'll talk to you guys soon.